Hey, everybody. My name is Michelle Gilhooly, and I am a coach out of Mechanicsville, Virginia. And Shawna asked me to hop on and give you guys a little bit of training on booking your calendar. That's actually one of my strengths as a leader, and so I wanted to make sure. Sorry, there's something weird in the upper corner of my phone. I wanted to be sure to share some of my strengths with you. So I hope that everybody is having a fabulous day. I hope that you are getting excited about the holiday season. I personally have not even started shopping. It is, I don't even know what today is, but I just haven't. Thank goodness for Amazon Prime, because they are going to be my friend. I do have everything in the cart, but anyway, that's a whole other story. So anyway, I have been selling LuLaRoe since November 30th of 2015. I onboarded and had my launch party on December 13th of last year. Sorry, this thing I feel like this is going to fall over. So I've only been doing this about a year, and within that year, I have built a team that is amazing, and I promoted to coach in October. So I'm super excited to be here and to be able to do some training swaps with some awesome leaders. And so this is for Shawna's team. So my why goes back to 5.5 years ago now. My son was born with the cord wrapped around his neck. And at the time of his birth, we didn't realize the implications of that. In fact, he scored really high on his APGAR test, and in the hospital, they didn't really notice that anything was different or wrong. But as soon as my husband and I brought Gavin home, we just noticed that he was different than his sisters. I have two other children. Tegan is 8 and Reese is 7 and Gavin is 5.5. So my children were born pretty close together. So I kind of remembered what it was like to have a newborn. And although every child is different, I just knew that something wasn't quite right. Well, it turns out that having the cord wrapped around Gavin's neck caused some neurological damage. And anyway, we were very quickly, referred to special education services in our county. We're in Virginia, and within our county, they have infant care within the special education, umbrella. So we very quickly started getting therapy for Gavin, and I went back to work when he was about 7 weeks old. So his therapist used to go to his babysitter's house, and I worked full-time as a teacher. My husband was an assistant principal. And like I said, we had 2 other small children, so life was crazy. When Gavin was almost 2 years old, he still wasn't walking or talking, and he had walked one time for the babysitter, and I would ask her every day after that, when I picked him up, if he had walked again that day, because it had been, 3 months, and he still hadn't walked for me. So he had only walked for her that one time, took a few steps. She got it on video, so I even saw it. But anyway, one day I went and picked him up, and I asked if he had walked, because that was my thing. And the babysitter sat me down, and she said, I hate to tell you this, but there's just no way that I can spend the time with Gavin that he needs in order to be able to learn the skills that, are coming naturally to the other children. I can't remember exactly how she put it, but it was an amazing conversation, because for a long time it had been weighing on my mind that I should stay home with Gavin, but my husband and I were both working in the same county. We paid next to nothing for health insurance, and it just had never been in my plan to be a stay-at-home mom. So all this to say that at that time, when I had that talk with the babysitter, I decided that I would stay home. So he was almost 2. He was 2 when I decided to stay home. And then until he was, 4.5, so a year ago, we just lived on a shoestring budget. We literally could not afford anything that was out of the budget. Going out to eat, out of the question. I clipped coupons. I shopped at discount stores. I did everything I could to survive. But when Gavin was just turned 4, we looked at our budget, we looked at our bank account, and realized that I would have to go back to work. And this about killed me, as you can imagine. Gavin, by the way, is amazing little boy. He walks and talks and runs and jumps just like any other little boy. In fact, we're fighting to keep him in the special education system right now because they want to release him because he's doing so well. But my fear is that he'll, have some setbacks when he starts kindergarten. So anyway, I decided I was going to go back to work when Gavin turned 5. So we were going to live on that shoestring budget for 1 more year, and then I was going back to work. Well, within that year, I found LuLaRoe and told my husband about it, and he was very, very much opposed to me selling something else. I had been in direct sales before and was successful, but he was like, I just don't, this is just not going to be good. An inventory-based company is going to be tough. So I said, well, just let me give it a shot. So I gave it a shot, and here I am, and I don't have to go back to work. So my why is my son, my family, my whole family. Now we are able to buy things and provide for others. And I was just talking to my best friend on the phone about, doing some things for some families around the area that I could have never imagined, and sharing that joy and giving with my children. But anyway, let me get to the training. I just thought I would give you guys a little bit of background information on me, just to tell you how it is. I believe strongly that your why drives everything that you do. So if you're not sure why you sell LuLaRoe, you really need to sit down and decide. Is it extra money? Is it, time with girls? Is it whatever it is? You need to write it down, and you need to really dig deep to find that why. I share my why with everybody. My poor child, I think everybody in my entire town, probably soon everybody in my entire state, is going to know his story. I guess at some point he won't want me to share it anymore, but my family is my why. Me not having to go back to work is my why. That there is a monetary equivalent to my why, and that is really helpful to me, because I know that if I don't make a certain amount of money in a month, then I could have to go back to work, and I don't want to have to do that. So I'm going to talk to you today about booking pop-ups, but I want you guys to know that before you book pop-ups, you need to know your why, because it's what's going to drive you. If my why was, I don't even know, if my why was to buy a new pair of shoes every month, that would be awesome. But I might say 1 month, but I don't really need another new pair of shoes. My family, though, they need me. They need to eat. They need the mortgage paid. They need all of those good things. So it really drives me to have a very concrete why that is relatable to a number, so that I know exactly what I need to do each month. So know your why, then talk to your significant other and anybody that's in your house about when and where and how many pop-ups you should do a month. Another kind of thorn in my husband's side, when I was in my past direct sales company, I would do a party anytime anybody would ask me. If they wanted to do it on a Tuesday morning, I would do it on a Tuesday morning, even though that's when my son had swimming lessons or something like that. It drove my husband crazy, because he felt like he could never keep up with when I do things and, why I do them. Not to mention that I was not bringing home very much money while doing them. So I just decided that when I was convincing my husband that I wanted to be a LuLaRoe consultant, that I was going to get serious about it and I was going to have a plan. So we decided that I was going to do parties on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays of every week. And so he knew that if it was a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Sunday that I was doing a party, he didn't even need to ask me. And it took him a while, of training him, when he would ask, do you have a party tonight? Yes, honey, it's Wednesday. I have a party. once I made that decision and I committed that to him and to my family, then I started booking parties. So I decided that I wanted to, like I said, do parties on Wednesdays and Thursdays and Sundays. Now, if somebody was like, oh my gosh, I take classes on Wednesdays and Thursdays and Sundays is family time. I'm sorry, I can't do a party, but I really want to. Then I would tell them I would move things around for them and get back to them and, find a Saturday or a Friday or something like that. So I want to show you what my calendar looks like when I do that. This is last year's calendar. All right, so January is not a great example. So February. Okay, so what I do, you can see that my calendar looks crazy, right? Well, guess what? Here's a little tip. It looks crazy even before I have a single party on it, because I want people, when I show them my calendar, to think, wow, she is super successful. I want to party with her. I actually had somebody join my team within the last, 10 months or so. And one thing that she told me, that one of the reasons that she chose me to join under is because she had inquired about booking a party, and I was like, sure, I can fit you in about 6 weeks. And she loved the idea that I was busy. She felt like I'd be able to really share some tips and tricks with her about being busy. And I really was busy at the time, but I thought, that's interesting. People like it when you're busy. Of course they want to be on your calendar. Of course they want to be next, but they also feel like a sense of accomplishment or a sense of challenge when they can get in on your calendar because you're so busy. So you can see, let me show you again, and I know it's backwards because it's in selfie mode, but I've got the Super Bowl on here. This is February of last year. I've got the Super Bowl. I've got Gavin's evaluation. I've got a meeting at my pool. I've got, let's see, what are some other things that I have? I have some initials that I don't even know what they are. EIL, I have no idea. But anyway, I've got a lot of things on here that have nothing to do with LuLaRoe, and that is totally fine because, again, you want to look busy. Now, you might notice that I have highlighted in pink all of my, oh gosh, I did Tuesdays and Wednesdays in this one, but then I filled one. Let me see if this is better. Yeah, this is better. Okay, so I have highlighted all of my Wednesdays, all of my Thursdays, and all of my Sundays, because when I'm at a pop-up and somebody wants to book a party, I can hand them my calendar and I can tell them that any of the highlighted in pink squares that don't already have something in them are party dates, okay? So yeah, and then I just start to fill it. So my calendar is like my boss. When I have an empty calendar with those dates all highlighted, then I know that I've got to fill them and I've got to figure out a way to do it. Back to the financial, like your why, and equating it to like a number. So I knew that I wanted to have 12 parties a month for my first 4 months, or I think I did my first 5 months of being a consultant, because I knew that that would build a very strong foundation for my business. I would have a customer base coming back to me, and then if I wanted to, I could kind of drop back a little bit. And now that I have built a team, I have dropped back a little bit to 8 to 10 parties instead of the 12, but I want to start my this coming January off with 12 again, so that's a challenge to myself. But my calendar, I knew that number was important because I knew that I wanted to make a certain amount of money every month, and I figured out what the profit margin would be for each of the parties. So back to your why, if you can figure out a specific amount of money that you want to make every month, then take your party average that you profit every month, after you subtract out your wholesale obligation to repurchase inventory, then you can figure out how many parties you need to do in order to meet that financial obligation. Always overbook. You never know who's going to cancel on you. Now, one thing that I have figured out, a way that you kind of seems to eliminate cancellation some, is just being in touch with your hostess. I think it's really super important to, once you've got a party booked, even if it's 3 months out, although I do recommend trying to book within 30 days if you can, or no further out than 60. But if somebody wants to rebook for 6 months from now, that's great. But once you have booked a party with somebody, you need to be in contact with them every 3 days in some form or fashion. Now, that doesn't mean call them every 3 days. That doesn't even mean text them every 3 days. That means at the very least, like a picture on their Facebook profile every 3 days. Of course, you're going to want to like have some real contacts in there every now and then, like on the phone or, texting or Facebook message or, like a post on their wall or something, but you need to be in contact with them every 3 days. If you're not in contact with them, they're going to totally forget about you. They might have the party on their calendar, but as the time approaches, if they're like, I haven't even heard from this girl in like 3 weeks, they're going to be completely fine with canceling the party. If you develop a relationship with her and you, just make yourself kind of present in her life, not saying be a stalker, but like just, even by liking just something that you're going to show up in her notifications every now and then she's going to feel connected to you and she's not going to want to let you down. So she's going to be less likely to cancel her pop-up. Okay, but back to what I was saying, try to overbook your calendar. So if you want to do 12 parties, book 14. If you want to do 14 parties, book 16. Whatever you want to do, go up at least 2 parties because you never know if they're going to cancel. Now, if they all keep their pop-ups, fabulous. That just means that you've given yourself a raise for the month. Okay, so you need to set up your calendar. Like I said, I like to highlight the days that I use. Some people like to use bright colored sticky notes. You can get sticky note tape now. I couldn't find mine today. It's probably in this messy desk, but you can use sticky notes and you can cut them down to the size of the squares on your calendar, and that way you can move them around if you need to. But just something that pops out to you when you look at your calendar and there's a big empty space there. Okay, you want to book those empty spaces and you want your friends to kind of help you do that. If you're handing them over your calendar, it's just real easy for them to see that that those are the dates that you want. If you show them an empty calendar completely and you say, like, for example, this is what my May looks like. If somebody says, I want to book a party in May, which I'm not going to book that far out in advance, I'm going to actually, if they do, I'm going to write their name over here and I'm going to contact them. Or if they wanted to book in May, I'd probably write their name in April. But anyway, if I were to hand them my calendar that looks like this, it looks like I'm so wide open that I have no business whatsoever. And so they're like, if you don't have business, you're not going to have fresh inventory. If you don't have fresh inventory, my friends aren't going to want to come. If my friends aren't going to want to come, then this is a waste of my time. So, like I said, you pick the dates. It's your business. You work when you want to work and when it works best with you and your family's schedule. So how do you book these parties? Like, how in the world are you going to find people to fill these dates for you? Well, I can tell you honestly, at this point last year, like I said, I had just launched at this point last year, so I had nothing on my calendar for January. And let me tell you, it scared me to death because I had told my husband I was going to have 10 to 12 parties in January, February, March, April, and probably May, and that would help me pay off my initial inventory. So I did a big open house. It was my launch, but you could do the same thing now. If your January is looking empty, you could do the same thing now. Lindsay Wheeler said that she is having a procrastinators party this coming weekend. That's a great idea. Get people in the door, by calling it something fun, do some sort of theme, do some giveaways. If you're hosting your own party, if it's your own open house, then you don't have to give away hostess rewards, right? So what would those hostess rewards be? I did an open house last month sometime because it was a date that I could not fill with a hostess. I did in the first, the party started at 5. I did a doorbuster special. I drew a name for a Sarah. At 5:30, gosh, I should look back. I can't remember exactly. At 5:30, I did a pair of leggings. At 6 o'clock, I did a dress. 6:30, I did a Cassie skirt. So 4 pieces. I thought for sure that people were just there for the prizes, but most of them didn't even realize that there were prizes, so they were so excited. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Even if I had one shopper that day and, maybe just gave away those 3 prizes, that's okay, because at that pop-up, I had my calendar out and I had a door prize slip, which I totally have. Oh, yeah. And I can share this with Shawna as well. So I'm going to cover up the phone number here. But anyway, my door prize slip is real simple. It says, name and email. Are you interested in earning free clothes by hosting a pop-up boutique? Yes or no? Or yes, perhaps, or no thanks. If yes or perhaps, where? And then I have 3 options where they would circle my work or home, at my boutique, or online. I don't do a lot of online pop-ups, but anyway, it is an option. Number 2, are you interested in joining one or more Facebook groups to see the latest inventory and keep up with the fun? So then I have permission to add them to my Facebook group. Number 3, what is a phone number where we can reach you if you win? And then do you text? And then are you interested? Last question is, are you interested in hearing more about how we can change your life financially? So I take all of my perhaps and my maybes and I set up a text. And in my text, I say, hey, so-and-so, I just wanted to touch base with you. I've got 3 hot dates, and I always use the number 3. I've got 3 hot dates that I'm trying to book today. These will go fast, but if you are one of the 3, then you will get a free additional item, or you could do a free pair of leggings, or if you know that they love the Sarah, you could do a Sarah, whatever your hook is, to get them to book. And I have been very successful with that. So offering an extra incentive, giving 3 dates, and offering a booking incentive, giving 3 dates, and then telling them also that the offer expires today, so that when they call you back in another week or so, when they get around to it, they're not still expecting that. But also it creates this sense of urgency and they want to get on your calendar. If you say, hey, I saw that you wanted to book a party, I'm wide open in February, then they think, oh, well, good, I've got all the time in the world, and they might never get back to you. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you are not just posting in your Facebook group that you are looking to fill pop-up dates. Again, people think that if you make a blast statement that you're looking for pop-up dates, they think, oh, somebody else will help her out, or oh, somebody else will get to it before me, and they don't think anything of it. So send a personal text, a personal Facebook message, make a phone call, or send a personal email. Don't ever do a group text or a group private message or a group email when trying to book a party. You want people to think that you are asking them specifically to book a party for you, so that they feel a certain obligation to at least get back to you and say no. If they say no, don't worry about it. Thank them for getting back to you. I can't tell you how many times people in my life who are in other direct sales companies have asked me to book a party, and when I say no, they don't even respond. And I think that's so rude, because yes, you are trying to book parties, but you are also trying to build relationships, because people who say no might not mean no forever. They might mean no, not right this second. And there might be an idea in their head that they're like, maybe, but they don't want to tell you that because they don't want to get your hopes up. If you're polite to them and you continue talking to them, then they're more likely to book that next pop-up with you. Don't let those no's get you down. An example that was given in my last direct sales company that I really loved is when you go to a fancy restaurant and the waiter asks you if you want dessert and you say no, should he get offended? No, it just means that you're not interested in dessert. Just like, don't get offended if somebody says no, that they don't want to book a pop-up with you. It just means that they're not interested in doing that. It doesn't mean that they hate you. So keep that in mind. Don't let those no's get you down. Just keep going until your calendar is full. Right now, you should be working on booking for January, possibly into February as well. But like I said, I don't like to book too far out in advance because I feel like I have less cancellations. But if I have somebody that says February, then I write them down for January and I'll contact them next month, or I might start booking the first 2 weeks of February. I have pretty much an empty calendar in January right now. So I need to be doing all this as well. So this is a really good refresher for me. If you don't have a pop-up, or you don't have an open house, or you have an unsuccessful open house where you are not getting these door prize slips to get the feedback about whether or not somebody wants to have a pop-up, or maybe you've got all no's, that's okay. Make a list. The 72-hour game plan is famously successful. all you have to do is make a list of 50 people and then go down that list and make sure that you are asking people personally if they want to book pop-ups. Remember, if you've got your calendar set up to the dates that you want to book, then all you have to do is type messages to people. You can cut and paste, but I really, really, really strongly encourage you to make a personal connection by not cutting and pasting. People can read through cut and pasted messages like a book. In fact, we had somebody at the, where were we? Virginia Beach Inspire, who actually got a message back from a cut and paste that said something like, hey, good luck to you, but I really am turned off by cut and pasted messages. You don't want that to be you, because that will like hurt a little bit. You know what I mean? So ask, if you're asking your hairdresser, say, hey, I need to get in there for a haircut sometime in February, but, I was thinking that you'd be a really good hostess for January. People will have Christmas cash to spend. I've got some extra specials that I'll be offering in person that day. So what do you think about this date, or this date? I've got a free pair of leggings for you if you book today. And then see what she says. I think of my online pop-ups or online sales as supplements. I don't ever count on them for sales. So when I say that I want to do 10 to 12 pop-ups in a month, I'm not including my online sales. So just keep that in mind. Some of you are probably very successful online and have a successful online business, but LuLaRoe really wants us to get back in people's homes and back in-person sales, because we are a home-based party company. Once you have booked a pop-up with somebody, it's really important, like I said, to keep in contact with them, but to also set up an event for them. I have a specific script that I am happy to share with Shawna about exactly what I put in my events and when. And then I use software or an app, I don't know what it's considered, called cinchshare.com. It posts for you in events. So I set all that up on the 1st and 15th of every month, and that way I'm constantly in contact with the guests. Get your hostess involved in booking your next pop-ups as well. You can give your hostess an incentive that every pop-up that she books, she will get a half-price item at that person's pop-up, and then you're out nothing. You're just basically giving them the wholesale, giving them whatever they want at wholesale cost. And so they're so excited. So if they're hoping to get like 5 things for free and they only get 3, say that's okay. If you can get 2 people to book pop-ups, you'll get those 2 things at half price at your friend's pop-up. So those are just some tips and tricks that I have found to work for me. And I hope that you will try some of them and get in touch with me if you have any questions about anything. Because this is a video, I can't really ask if there are any questions, but Shawna, if there are any questions, please send them my way. I'm sure that you are an expert yourself and will be able to answer a lot of them, but I'm happy to also share with you my door prize survey and my kind of script that I use in my event planning as well. So I hope that that was helpful, and I hope that you guys have a fabulous day. Hope to see all of you in July for convention. It's going to be a lot of fun. Happy holidays.